Today I thought I'd try something a little different, and I'm going to be sharing two stories that I wrote in elementary school. So for the first time ever, this one is actually for the kids. Playing Shark. Written and illustrated by Zachary Roberts. Mrs. Jacobs class, Northwestern Elementary School, 2001 to 2002. Dedicated to Cody, Mamaw, Dan, Mom and Dad, Greg, Jacob, Caleb, Zachary, Clara, Judy, Carla, Jonathan, Howard, Carolyn, Michaela, Ronnie, Kaylee Massey, Stephanie, Xana, Emily Ballantyne, Emily Martin, Austin Studebaker, Gerald, Charlie Brown, Arnold, Pookie, Grandpa, Sandra, Princess, Thunder, Sophie, George, and Dozer. Playing Shark by Zachary Roberts. Dedicated to Cody. Cody, Jacob, Caleb, and I play Shark. I'm the shark. If I tag them, they have to become a shark with me. No one comes near me because they don't want to become sharks. If they don't see me and I see them, I just tag them. They go under the rocket. It shocks me, but not for real. I don't really like it when they go there because then I can't get them. The Mr. Muscle is the boat. I can't get up there because it is too dry and I will die, but not for real. One day we were playing and I tagged Cody first. He was far from me, but I still got him anyway. Now he was a shark with me. Cody and I tagged Jacob. He tried to get to the rocket, but Cody still got him. Now we were 3 sharks. Caleb was heading for the rocket. He got inside the rocket. He said, "If I don't get this over with, I won't be a shark with Zachary. The last person they touch has to be a shark with Zachary when we start the game over again." I pretended to swim to Caleb and slid under the rocket. I was really careful so I wouldn't get shocked. I tagged him. We were the sharks in the new game. The end. Well, hey kids, now time for a wacky intermission from 2D's Radical Riddle Book, written and illustrated by Mrs. Berner's class, Northwestern Elementary School, 2002 to 2003. If you turn to page 39, you'll see something by Zach Roberts. What is a dog's favorite state? Barkansas! What do chickens put on their Christmas trees? Cornaments! Now this has been a brief intermission from 2D's Radical Riddle Book. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. The Boston Zoo Transfer. Written and illustrated by Zachary Roberts. Mrs. Jacobs class, Northwestern Elementary School, 2004 to 2005. The Boston Zoo Transfer by Zachary Roberts. Dedicated to Mom, Dad, Greg, and Allie. Chapter 1. Life wasn't always easy for Mike, especially after what happened last time. It was June 7th, 1990, and Mike was walking to his house in the flamingo exhibit in the Boston Zoo. He lived with his mom, Beatrice Penguin, who was bed-resting on a rock. She was dying. "The sun'll come up tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya tomorrow," sang his neighbor Letty Betty. "Son, I'm dying! Help! Said his mom. "Mother!" yelled Mike as he ran in to check on her. "I'll see you again someday," said his mom. She's dead!" he exclaimed. Mike wept for a long, long time. 2 months to be exact. Now you're probably saying, this story is boring, so I'll tell you a different time in Mike's life. Oh, how about the zoo transfer? Okay, kick back, relax, because here's Mike in the zoo transfer. "Hey Mike, you should come over for tea sometime," said Letty Betty. Okay, I'll come over now," said Mike, although he hated Letty Betty. He went into her house and felt some sort of yellow mist. "What's the yellow mist?" asked Mike. "Elephant waste," said Letty Betty. "Do you mean I'm standing in elephant pee?" asked Mike. "Yeah, said Letty Betty. "I'm out of here," he said, and then he went to work. What is his job, you say? Nothing. He thinks his job is to clean the park, but he always gets put back in his house. When he got back in his house, he turns on the TV.
This just in. The Boston Zoo is having a zoo transfer and is taking all of the following animals: hippos, penguins, flamingos, elephants, and snakes. This will be effective at 2:30 on June 10th, 1990. Now to sports.
Oh no, Mike said. Letty Betty, did you hear? We're going to be going on a zoo transfer. What? Said Letty Betty. I can't move. Everything I could possibly want is here. I mean, you, my cat, Yellow Mist, a house, and my Jerry Springer show. They don't air that anywhere else, you know, complained Letty Betty. I think you'll like it there. It has more idiots for you to play with. And they do too air the Jerry Springer show in Utah, where we're going, said Mike. Are you sure, darling? Asked Letty Betty. Yeah, that's where I came from. My mom watched it all the time, replied Mike. Okay, said Letty Betty and went back inside. I gotta find a way to get out of that zoo transfer, said Mike, or they'll put me next door to Letty Betty again. I hate her, yelled Mike. Chapter 2. Mike only had 3 more days until he was in Utah living in the penguin exhibit with his dad, stepmom, brother, and sister. He hated them as well. I have to tell all the other animals. Screwy Louie the snake was alarmed. What? Oh, I can't go. I have an appointment with Dr. Flamingo. Dr. Flamingo! I need to tell Dr. Flamingo, exclaimed Mike. He raced to the flamingo exhibit and yelled, Dr. Flamingo, we're having a zoo transfer. What? Exclaimed Dr. Flamingo. Yes, it's effective in 2 days. I've got to tell Elephant, exclaimed Dr. Flamingo and ran out of her office. Elephant! Zoo transfer and 2 days and 2:30 and no Jerry Springer and Utah, stuttered Dr. Flamingo. So we're going to Utah in 2 days at 2:30 for a zoo transfer? Asked Elephant. Yes, replied Dr. Flamingo. Mike called a meeting so that we could get out of this problem. It's at the giraffe exhibit at 2:15, said Dr. Flamingo. Well, we're missing it. It's 2:30 now, said Elephant. Ah! Exclaimed Dr. Flamingo as she ran to the meeting. Don't start without me, shouted Elephant. We are here today to discuss the zoo transfer problem, explained Mike when everyone got there. We need to make a plan to get out of going to the zoo in Utah. My dad, my stepmom, my brother, and sister all live there, all in the same exhibit. They only have one exhibit. Time for roll call, said Mike. Screwy, here. Letty, here. Doctor, here. Elephant, here. Okay, everyone is here. I'm concerned about Y2K, said a hillbilly zookeeper in the background. That's not why we're here, explained Mike. Oh, okay, said the zookeeper as he left. Not talking about Y2K. What kind of meeting is that? He mumbled as he got something to eat. Chapter 3. And now I conclude this meeting, said Mike. I want to talk about Y2K, exclaimed the zookeeper over the intercom. We have 1 day to get out of the zoo transfer, said Mike as everyone raced home to tell their spouses and children. Hon, this might be the last time I get to spend with you, so let's make it last, said Screwy as he started to play with his child, Louie Screwy. Mom, I'll always have your ashes with me, literally, Mike said as he puts the urn of his mother's ashes in his suitcase. I thought we had a plan to put a stop to the zoo transfer, asked Elephant. We do, but while you were in the bathroom, I told everyone to prepare just in case our plan doesn't work. Good night. I'll see you in the morning. He turned on the TV and it said,
Now the zoo transfer is in 2 hours at midnight tonight.
Mike stood motionless with his mouth wide open. Chapter 4. As Mike stood with his mouth wide open, Letty Betty ran over to his house. Mike, what's the matter, darling? Asked Letty Betty.
That time again for the Boston Zoo transfer is at midnight tonight.
Letty was motionless too. Then, at that very moment, every single animal in the zoo started screaming as loud as they could. Why? All the clocks struck 11:59 p.m. Chapter 5. Ah! Mike and Letty exclaimed at the same time.
Did you hear something?
Asked the newsman. I'll turn off the TV, said Letty as she turned off the TV. Mike! Mike! Your plan didn't work! Exclaimed Dr. Flamingo as she was put in a box. Help! No! Don't put me in there! I'm claustrophobic! Exclaimed Screwy Louie as he was put in a box. I'm telling you, I'm a giraffe, said Elephant as she extended her trunk. But I can't fit in here, exclaimed Letty Betty as her fatty tissue got shoved in a box. All the boxes were labeled UTAH for some reason. Within seconds, Mike was shoved in a box with his suitcase. Mom, I'll always remember the way you were so ambitious and loved our first zoo transfer, Mike said to his urn as he hugged it.
Mike, stop mumbling to your urn and help me here,
said Ty the fly. Ty, where are you? Asked Mike.
Under your hat. I was there because I thought you might need some help. When you were standing motionless, I flew in your hat,
explained Ty. Oh, said Mike as he took off his hat. Chapter 6. So what exactly were you doing when you saw me motionless? Asked Mike suspiciously.
Well, I just woke up from my nap on Grog's tush, and I got very, very hungry. So I went to the flamingo exhibit to snack on the flamingo chow when I saw you,
explained Ty. Oh, okay, said Mike. Then there was a cracking sound on top of Mike's box. Ty and Mike stared at the cracking top. After a few minutes, Letty Betty came tumbling through, her box obviously being on top of his box. Mike, long time no see. Huh? Ty, is that you? Oh, wow, it's been ages, exclaimed Letty as she gave Ty a kiss. Chapter 7. Ty was starstruck.
How do you remember?
Asked Ty. How could I forget my first husband? Asked Letty Betty. Hello, there's a wide open space to climb out and get back to our zoo since we aren't moving, said Mike annoyingly. Hate to cut you short, but let's get the other animals and get out of here, said Mike, still annoyed.
Okay,
said Ty and Letty Betty at the same time. And with that, they climbed out and went to the box directly beside them. I told them I'm claustrophobic, exclaimed Screwy Louie.
We'll get you out of there soon enough,
said Ty as he flew through one of the air holes.
No, don't eat me, I'm not grass, no,
yelled Ty as Screwy Louie ate him. Chapter 8. Ty, are you okay? Asked Mike. I think he's dead, said Letty Betty. Oh, that was Ty? Oh, I just ate him, said Screwy Louie. I think he's dead, said Letty Betty. Screwy, if we don't get you out of the box, what will happen? Asked Letty. I'll die, said Screwy Louie. Good! You ate my first husband! I'll kill you! Exclaimed Letty Betty, raging in madness. No, Betty, we're gonna let him out, said Mike. Then he ordered Letty to let him out. Thank you so much, someone very dear to Mike said. Dad? No, Jimmy Hoffa. Who do you think it is? But you're not Screwy Louie. I know I'm not Louie Bluey. Chapter 9. And I'm not your dad. Then who are you? Asked Screwy Louie. I'm Ty. A curse was bestowed upon me when I married Betty. Oh! Said Betty, Mike, and Screwy at the same time. Okay, let's go save the other animals. Do you hear that? You don't think it's the plane engine? Exclaimed all of the animals, including the ones in boxes. Chapter 10. Everyone, free an animal right now so we can get off this horrid plane, exclaimed Mike. With that, they frantically ran to save animals. Ty, can you bust the plane open? Asked Mike. Yeah, replied Ty, so he plunged through the wall with everyone else following. Yeah! Exclaimed all the animals as the plane took off. I'm going home, said Ty as he flew away. Thank you, Ty, exclaimed Mike. I love you, exclaimed Letty Betty. As they all went home to go to bed, Letty asked a question you're probably all thinking. What was our plan? She asked. We were going to hide under our beds, explained Mike. Oh, said Letty Betty, walking home. The sun'll come up tomorrow. I love you tomorrow, sang Letty Betty. Ah, good work, Mike. You saved people's lives, said Mike as he went home. The next day, when Mike woke up, he heard the news reporter saying,
The Utah Zoo has just found out that the animals they were supposed to get escaped. They have decided to let them stay at their own zoo.
Yes! Something I did actually paid off! Exclaimed Mike. The end. Well, that was Playing Shark, a snippet of 2D's Radical Riddle book, and the Boston Zoo transfer. Of course, I read those dates out when I was reading them, but I just want you to realize the oldest story here was 19 years old, written in 2001, and it's currently 2020. That is absolutely wild to me. I'd like to take a moment of silence to one book that I know existed. Now, we did this, I thought, every year in the gifted reading program in Mrs. Jacobs' class. I'm pretty sure, I thought at least, that we wrote one of these books every single year. We'd sit down with Mrs. Jacobs over at the computer. We'd basically dictate the story to her. She would write it in there and make it sort of sound grammatically better than what a kindergartner could write. A few weeks later, it would come back published from a company. We would color in all the pages, send it back, and then they would send us a bound copy. Now, we would all take a bound copy home, and we also, there would be a bound copy that they put in the elementary school library, which I thought was so fucking cool. So I always wanted to write the stories that I thought people would want to read when they pulled them out of that little milk crate. I thought I wanted to be the one that would have an enticing enough book to read. Now, I don't know if I accomplished that. I don't know if anybody at the school ever read one of my books in that little thing. And my God, I really sincerely wish that that is still there. Because if it is, there is at least one book that I know of that I would love to get my hands on to have included it in this story, and it was called The Spy Ship, and it was also written by me. And I just remember I had gone on a cruise, and this book had to do with a group of people that accidentally stumble onto a spy ship and crash into a frozen milk iceberg and that kind of stuff. And I don't remember much about it, but I really wish that I could have it to have included it here. I searched my mom's house. I know at one point that my father had a copy, but now I don't think he still has that copy, and we don't speak to each other anyway, so it's a futile gesture. The only place that it might still exist is at the Northwestern Elementary School. If they got rid of those, which by now, 19 years later, it's very possible they could have. Plus, we moved into, the old buildings got torn down and they moved into a new building, so they probably consolidated a lot of their books and decided, what do we need? What do we want to get rid of? And they probably got rid of the books that were written by students. But at the same time, isn't that what you would want to keep because they're cute and they're cool and they're unique and they're historical to the school? So maybe they're still there. I don't know. If it is, I'd love to get my hands on The Spy Ship. I'd love to read it and include it. Honestly, it's gutted me that I don't have it, and it's gutted me that I haven't held on to it, and that for some reason over the years I lost track of it. I found Playing Shark, this copy of Playing Shark, at my mom's house. I already had the copy of 2D's Radical Riddle book and Boston Zoo transfer here with me in Columbus, but I went ahead and grabbed on and took Playing Shark with me to add it to the collection here because, guys, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to wish you had. I wish sincerely I still had that copy of The Spy Ship. This kind of stuff, yearbooks, books that you wrote when you were a kid, that's the kind of stuff that you need to be keeping, because here I am, 25 years old, and I'm gutted that I don't have that story to share with you, because I loved that kind of stuff, and I'd love to have my kids read these one day. I know they're bad, and I know that the Boston Zoo transfer literally is a ripoff of Madagascar. I hadn't seen the movie, but I had only seen the trailer, and I wrote a whole book basically about Madagascar, but just my own, because the movie hadn't even come out yet, I swear to God. And somebody, I don't remember who, probably Mark Shipman, told on me, and I had a meeting in the hallway where he pretty much accused me of plagiarism, and Mrs. Jacobs asked me about it, and I'm like, I haven't even heard of that, but it sounds like a good movie, and I got away with it. But I just want to clear the record that, yes, I had heard of it. Yes, it was heavily inspired by that, maybe a direct ripoff, and a lot of the characters were direct ripoffs of the characters in the movie. I mean, Screwy Louie had all of the traits of Melman the giraffe. Letty Betty is essentially Gloria. It's easy to see the comparisons if you've ever seen the movie. And I'm just glad that I never got in trouble, and I've lasted until I'm 25 years old, essentially, with a plagiarized copy of Madagascar, reframed as the Boston Zoo transfer. I've always loved holding on to these books, and folks, if you have things like this at your home that you're thinking of getting rid of, don't do it. This is the kind of stuff you should hold on to. Everything else can be junk, but put it in a memory box. Put it in the basement in a nice airtight box, and in 20 years, you'll be fucking glad that you did, because that's the kind of stuff you want to save. Save it.
Yeah, and that's the last time I'm making macaroni and cheese.